What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today's video, this is actually a special one. I actually was planning on doing this video way further down the line. However, Marvel Comics has announced that by the time you see this video will be tomorrow, but on January the 27th, 2021, in the year of our Lord of the Rings, Marvel is going to be holding a fan voting for who is going to be on the new incarnation of the X-Men. Now, you may remember from X-Men number 16, the video I did on it, I talked about how Cyclops and Marvel Girl Jean Grey are going to be allowing the mutants on Krakoa to vote for who will be their X-Men. Essentially, the for the people, by the people version of the X-Men. Well, the mutants have cast their votes. We don't know who is going to be on the team so far. However, we were given an opportunity to vote for some very specific characters. Characters like Armor, Banshee, Boom Boom, Cannonball, Forge, Marrow, Polaris, Strong Guy, Sunspot, and last but not least, Tempo. Now, Tempo is a character that I honestly don't blame many of you for not knowing who they are, but this is an opportunity considering the fact that Storm cannot be on the X-Men team because she is on the Quiet Council, and Quiet Council members are not allowed to be on the X-Men of this iteration. So I figured it's a pretty strong chance there's not going to be much, if any, black representation, because whenever they want black representation in X-Men comics, they usually go for Storm. And I feel like Bishop, while he is a candidate for this, I just don't feel like he's going to wind up being on that team. So that said, this is a call to action to get people to go out and vote for Tempo to be on this team and give this character who has gotten so little of a chance compared to all these other characters in comics to actually do something meaningful. And I am here to tell you why you should give her a chance. That's right, in this video, we are going to be talking about the character Tempo. We're going to break down her character history, her origin, her powers, everything you need to know to hold an intelligent conversation about this character and more right now. But first, let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple eyes. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Tempo, human name Heather Tucker, first appeared in New Mutants number 86 in 1990 and was created by Louise Simonson and Rob Liefeld. Very little is known about Tempo's past before joining the MLF, which is short for the Mutant Liberation Front, the villainous terrorist organization where she was a founding member and operated under the leadership of Cable clone Strife. Tempo possesses chronokinetic abilities that allow her to manipulate time, whether it is slowing it down or speeding it up or making it come to a standstill, albeit she can only do this within her immediate area. Her powers are typically used to slow down her opponents so she can get the drop on them or have her teammates get the drop on them, or to speed herself up to make herself harder to hit and allow an onslaught of rapid-fire attacks, or sometimes to simply get away. She has shown instances of using her abilities to speed up opponents to their detriment, once speeding up Rogue to cause her to crash into a wall while flying. She once tried using her powers to slow down Quicksilver, but the results weren't what she wanted. She was, however, able to slow him down, but only for a short while. One specifically impressive feat of hers was using her powers to hold off a team of X-Men in stasis while the Acolytes did whatever it was they needed to do, though she did say this came at great strain to her body. Tempo also has the ability to fly at subsonic speed, but no one really knows exactly how she achieves this, whether or not it is with her chronokinesis or some other unknown means, though in her second appearance in Marvel Comics in the pages of New Mutants number 87, it is flippantly mentioned in a narration box that she can make time fly with her, though this is likely just an offhand joke. The suit and helmet that she wears, while they offer some protection against attacks, do not seem to protect her in any meaningful way beyond being simple armor. Her suit is not insulated against electrical attacks and doesn't seem to stop attacks from characters like Wolverine or Feral. Her helmet has been crushed by Polaris with her head still being in it, and she's been knocked unconscious while wearing that same helmet, and it doesn't seem to protect her from psychic attacks the way we've seen with characters like Magneto or Juggernaut and their helmets. She is considered to be an Alpha class mutant, and for those who aren't aware of what that means, an Alpha class mutant is a mutant who is born with an extraordinary, powerful mutant ability. Originally considered to be the most powerful form of mutant in comics, though recent events and of course changes in opinions within the fandom of X-Men itself have led to others believing Omega level mutants are more powerful. That said, Alpha class mutants are no joke. Tempo, for being a villain in her past life, is not immune to strokes of benevolence. Once upon a time in the pages of X-Factor number 77 and 78, the MLF was prepared to bomb a prenatal clinic that tested expecting mothers to see if their children would be born mutants. They were almost successful, but X-Factor swooped in and took them down, albeit the doctor at the clinic, who oddly enough his last name is Tucker, died in the process. Some have posited this Dr. Tucker may have some relation to Tempo, considering they have the same last name and they are both black characters. And while we bring that up, little did the MLF know it was Tempo who dropped the dime on the MLF to stop them from harming innocent mothers. Strife had a suspicion she was behind it, but never said anything on the matter. She would test her allegiance with the MLF once again during the pages of X-Force number 26 through 28, when Rainfire was in charge of the MLF. Tempo stopped Feral from killing Henry Peter Gyrick, a known hater of mutants and has been a thorn in the sides of mutants for pretty much almost the entire history of the X-Men in Marvel Comics. And this was something that the MLF was specifically there to do, is to take him out. However, Tempo felt that if Feral killed Henry Gyrick, she would only be proving his point about mutants and that two wrongs don't make a right. This last act of kindness got her exiled from the MLF. Not long after, around the time of Operation Zero Tolerance, Cable did offer Tempo a place on that era's incarnation of X-Force. However, she declined the offer, not because she wanted to continue being evil, but because she wanted to get her life together and leave being a supervillain behind. She also wanted to have children and advance her education by going to college, though this was never explored enough afterwards to reveal whether or not she was successful in any of this. Tempo is one of the few mutants who retained her powers after M-Day, the infamous day when Scarlet Witch uttered the words "no more mutants," and the entire mutant population dwindled from thousands to barely 200. She didn't sit on her hands during this time though. She wound up joining Frenzy in Exodus's newly reformed Acolytes and tried to misguidedly do some good. Speaking of, when Hope Summers was born, she sided with Mr. Sinister's Marauders to get possession of Baby Hope. Tempo, for a mutant with time powers, has had some interesting bouts with alternate timelines. In the Age of X story arc, the version of her that lived in that timeline was killed, and somehow, once all was restored to normal, the main Earth 616 version of herself also seemingly died. Her memories were absorbed by Legacy, who, for those who are not familiar, that was actually Rogue, and just go with it, because comic books. This was eventually explained away in an interview by Mike Carey, who said because Age of X was a pocket universe, the effects of that realm don't affect the main timeline of Earth 616, and that she's still out there somewhere, we just don't know where. That said, Frenzy was incredibly brokenhearted by Tempo's death, being the one cradling her in her arms while she slipped away. Even Cannonball stayed by her side as she died. Randomly, she asked about the X-Force character Feral as she was dying, though no one knows exactly why, and this has never been addressed since. This must have been something that was special only to the Age of X timeline, because the most meaningful interaction she ever had with Feral on Earth 616 was stopping her from killing Gyrick, as I mentioned before. Speaking of that, she's also been shown to exist in the far-flung future of 3086 in Uncanny Avengers number 14, despite her death. But no one knows for sure which version of Tempo this is, if it's the original Earth 616 version, or an alternate timeline version, or a descendant of hers. But considering Mike Carey's comments about the timeline and her Quoty Finger's death, it's likely to be the original recipe Tempo somehow. Past all the wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey shenanigans that she was a part of with Age of X, Tempo has been resurrected on Krakoa, where she apparently spends her days aging whiskey for Sebastian Shaw. Interesting side note there is that she's using her abilities to age a barrel of newly made whiskey 50 years ahead of its time, and apparently she's quite good at it. Tempo is a character who has been a villain for her entire publication history, and though other black villains in the X universe have gotten chances to turn over new leaves over the years, characters like Frenzy come to mind, Tempo has always flirted with the idea of becoming a good guy, but never really truly getting an opportunity to go all in. She's interesting in that of all the evil mutants in the X-Men's corner of the Marvel Comics universe, she was never really evil. She was never really even overly fond of the people that she worked with in the MLF or even the Acolytes, save for a few, namely Forearm and Frenzy respectively. She tended to only be a part of evil mutant teams because she, like other mutants, lived in a world where mutants are persecuted, and she didn't have the luxury of Charles Xavier reaching out to her and bringing her into the X-Men. Something tells me, if written differently or given the opportunity, that would have been a possibility for her, like with Frenzy, who also has a video forthcoming. Black mutants in the Marvel Comics universe face prejudice on two different fronts. And while it's been hinted at, teased at, and mentioned in previous issues of X-Men and other Marvel comics, it's yet to be really delved into in any actual meaningful way, and I feel this is a tremendously missed opportunity. That said, Tempo has never appeared in any media outside of comics, and as I like to often do, I like to cast an actor who I feel can play this character on the big or small screen, and the actress that came to mind was Lovey Simone Opong, who some of you may recognize from Netflix's Orange is the New Black, or the TV show Blue Bloods, or the movie Social Distance, or one of the more recently released movies, The Craft Legacy. Also, when I do these videos, I like to give some recommended reading to help you get caught up on these characters, and in this particular case, I'm going to recommend her first appearance with New Mutants Volume 1, number 86 through 87. I'm also going to recommend X Factor Volume 1, number 77 through 78, where we get the first real and meaningful character development with Tempo, and I'm going to also recommend X-Force Volume 1, number 26 through 30, which is where we also get to see an even further in-depth look at her character and how a character who is quotey fingers evil can do something good. Once again, I am doing this largely because I want to see this character get an opportunity, and I know what some people are going to say. I've seen it on Twitter. People say, oh, well, what about Sunspot? What about Strong Guy? What about Marrow? What about Polaris? What about Cannonball? What about Forge? What about Boom Boom? What about Armor? What about Banshee? I hear you guys, and trust me, I feel like each of these characters does deserve a spot on the X-Men team, but here's something I'm considering. If we're talking about getting these characters on a team, let's talk about this first. Armor is already on the New Mutants team, even though technically it has been revamped and she hasn't been seen since, but she did get a chance with several issues worth of appearances in Dawn of X's New Mutants. Banshee has been all over the place, and granted he has not been done particularly well in any parts, but he is, as my friend Dave from Comic Book Hero would point out, he is technically a retired mutant. Boom Boom technically has been in the pages of New Mutants as well, alongside Armor in Dawn of X. Cannonball was also featured very heavily in Dawn of X's New Mutants comics. Forge appears regularly in both Wolverine and X-Force comics, and is technically a member of X-Force. And Polaris is a member of X-Factor Investigations. Sunspot is also on the New Mutants as well, and is supposedly getting his own title with X-Corp, which has been in varying stages of happening and not happening. Now, as a case for characters like Strong Guy and Marrow, yeah, sure, I could definitely make a case for them because they really haven't been featured in anything, but Tempo, of all of these characters on the list, is the least explored character of all of them. I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh yeah, but Marrow's never really gotten a chance, Strong Guy has never really gotten a chance. That's bullshit. They have actually been in tons of comics. Tempo has barely been in 30 issues of anything across her entire publication history. Think about that. There's an opportunity with this character to do something very special, and I would like to see it happen, so I'm asking each of you. I'm gonna drop the link to the website where you can vote on this on January the 27th, and I hope that you guys take this opportunity to really consider whether or not you should vote for Tempo, and if you do, awesome. If you don't, that's fine too. Vote with your heart, but I'm telling you, this is an opportunity to do something very special. Voting will begin at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on January the 27th, so make sure you get in there quick, and the vote will come to an end on 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, February 2nd. So you got plenty of time to think about it. But anyways, if you like this video, Hulk smash that like button, and make sure you share this video around with all your friends so you can let them know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to the X-Men character Tempo. Let me know what you think about the character too. Have you always known about her, or are you today years old finding out about her? Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.